It's 8:30 at the mighty 1630 KCJJ, and we are joined by candidate for Iowa City Council in tomorrow's election, Ross Nusser. How you doing, Ross?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
So the election is tomorrow. What have you been doing in the weeks leading up to this to this fine day?
Yes, the election is tomorrow. We have been doing a lot of work. We've been out knocking doors in neighborhoods. We've been trying to put out marketing materials. The biggest thing is making people aware of this election. You know, this is an off-cycle election. It's a special election. It's to fill the remaining term of someone who was already elected. And we're coming off of this right after a major election and during a time of kind of just turmoil all around. So it's been an interesting thing to get voters interested, to get them out, to try and get them engaged, and to get them their voice heard in the city.
Well, the primary, which was held, even though it really technically didn't need to be held, had a pretty low voter turnout, but that was just for voters in the district that you're running in District C. But tomorrow, all Iowa Cityans can vote in this election.
That's exactly right. And I think there was some confusion around that. Yes, to reiterate, all people who live within Iowa City can vote in this election tomorrow. And that's also correct that during the primary, it was only people who resided in District C could vote. But now all people can vote tomorrow, March 4th.
Isn't that something that they're going to look at the city charter at some point? I know that we've had, the former mayor always calls us John Ballmer.
Yeah.
John Ballmer is always talking about how important that is. And I thought one of the things on there might be, maybe setting it up so maybe you do only vote within your district. They were asking, I think, people's opinion on that.
Yeah.
So that maybe even in the general election, you would only vote within your district. Yeah. Then at-large candidates would be the whole city.
Yeah. So that comes out of the rules for the Charter Review Commission, and this is our 50th year having the Charter Review Commission. It started in 1975, and it just passed through with the same rules that we have. So the mayor will continue to be elected by the council. The districts will be representative of the whole city, but if there's a primary, then just like this case, only the district will weigh in. The next chance to relook at that, to change it, to see if it's still working, to get other people's input on it, will be 10 years from now.
Okay. And we're kind of one of the, I think, big issues in this election is, the federal government now saying we might withhold money from your city if you don't follow these rules about immigration and things like that, and law enforcement doing the job of the federal government, and the risk of maybe losing that federal funding that goes to things like maybe affordable housing, building some affordable housing, various programs, social services, versus just basically keeping people and letting them keep their basic human rights. How do you sort of ride that fine line?
Yeah, so it's terrifying right now. We at the federal level, it's nothing short of chaos right now. At the state level, we used to be a forward leader in civil rights, and now we're kind of a backward leader in civil rights. And so our power at our municipality, I mean, this is where we have to figure out what we can do, how we can fight smart against it. And fighting smart means to understand what is coming down toward us, what we can do, what is within our realm of things that we can actually do, what are things that are outside of our realm that we can actually do, and then try and figure out the best strategy on how to approach that.
Well, there's plenty of issues here in Iowa City that people are striving for, and the council has got different opinions. Members of the council have different opinions. If you are elected tomorrow, what issues will you try to stress?
Yeah, so really my platform is affordable housing, mental health services, and behavioral health, which includes substance use treatment. So these are areas that I've worked on through the community for the past decade and a half. They're very important to me. They're very personal to me. And there are areas where I think that I have the expertise and just the experience to be able to affect it in a positive manner in a way that maybe some haven't been able to before.
Well, the affordable housing issue is something that's countrywide, and we know in Iowa the help with mental health facilities is woefully lacking. So it's up to the state. Certainly isn't helping. It's up to the cities and the counties to step up and help.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is that in the state of Iowa, we're 51st in the nation for access to mental health services.
Isn't that terrible?
It's
51st.
awful. 51st, which means we're worse than Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And they've had hurricanes.
And they've had hurricanes. And we're second in the nation for excessive drinking rates. So you can kind of see that there's a pretty substantial gap there.
Yeah, there's probably a correlation between the two.
Yes.
And boy, it's the statistics that, 15, 20 years ago we were real proud of are becoming more and more kind of cowering our heads down and just, okay, we're here, but try not to call attention to ourselves because we're not performing very well.
Yeah, we're definitely going the wrong way on a lot of this.
And then, of course, we had our governor sign that bill that, basically stripped certain elements of our population of their civil rights, and she did it under the guise of protecting people, and it's exactly the opposite.
Totally agreed.
But it's a busy time. So, what is what's your gut feeling on tomorrow? You think you got a good chance to come out on top?
I do. I think that we need to get the voter base just turned out to this election. I think that we absolutely have a good chance to turn up on top. I think that, if we are able to prevail tomorrow, I think that Iowa City will be able to fight smart against these forces that are kind of looming toward us. I think that we'll be able to realistically look at our options and actually protect those most vulnerable. Well,
this is a city council election for an open seat, and it has gotten a lot of attention, to say the least.
To say the least.
Why do you think it's so polarizing? Why? I've written news stories about this, and I have to admit, even writing some of the things I've written, because I felt I had to cover them because other people were covering them, and I didn't want to look like we were not covering these things. But I look at some of the allegations being lobbed, and I'm like, this is stupid. Some of these are just on both sides, against both candidates. I thought this is a non-issue,
right?
But people are trying to go after you and go after your opponent, and I know they're not you casting this yourself or your opponent casting them himself. But I mean, why are people? I have friends who are very hardcore on both sides. Either they really want you or they really want your opponent. Why is that so polarizing?
I think that it's coming out of what happened this past fall, where everything was so polarized, referring to the presidential election, and then we had this special election that starts essentially January 1st, and then we have a new president January 20th in the middle of this, and then the whole world gets thrown upside down. So I think that people want to see in politics a good guy and a bad guy. Now the thing is when you break it down to the community level, you have two community members, and it doesn't have to be a good guy versus a bad guy. It can be two good guys,
right?
And it can be two people who have different stances on things. I mean, there are things that Oliver and I both agree on, and there are things that we certainly don't agree on. But that's okay. That's part of civil discourse. And come tomorrow, come Wednesday, I'm sure that both of us will still be members of the community. I'm sure that both of us will still be contributing to the community. And one of us will go on to city council. And
so no executive order by the winner to ban the other one from the county?
Being a seat of 1 out of 7. Again, I feel like this race has been for president of Iowa City. And it's just not. This is a collaborative body. This is a council. It's in the name. It's a council of people. So I look forward to working with fellow counselors to understanding their perspectives, because they bring a different perspective than I do. I understand. I look forward to listening to them, to thinking about their arguments, and then making an informed decision that I can help vote and feel proud of the way that I voted.
Well, and to be fair, both of you've got the city's best interest at heart. Just different ways of going about it.
Yes.
And so we wish you all the luck in the world, and please go out and vote tomorrow. Make an informed decision. Look at the candidates' website, see what they're up against, and so forth. And the polls open 7 o'clock tomorrow?
They're open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. Do you feel like taking a call there, Ross, or you want to? They hung up anyway, so
okay. They're back.
Let's see. I'll cut it off if it's ridiculous. Hello?
It's not ridiculous, Jim. I just wondered, I'm still trying to make up my mind. I wondered if you guys just had 30 more seconds to maybe explain the differences, if you would mind sharing some differences in some of the key items that we're looking at between him and his opponent.
Yeah, policy differences,
Okay.
stuff like that.
All right, thank you.
That's a good idea.
Very nice of you to call.
Yes.
Yeah, so policy differences, a decent amount of them relate to real estate policy differences. One thing that we agree on is housing first models and support of housing first models. And the whole idea there is that before anything, you allow someone housing and you gain better outcomes. Things that we disagree on are there's talk where my opponent would like to incentivize a vacancy tax. So in my mind, I hear that when you're losing money, you can lose more money. And I don't think
So like if you have apartments that aren't rented, you would have to pay more. The landowner or the owner would have to pay more?
Yeah, okay. or commercial spaces too. And the idea behind this is to provide more affordable housing to incentivize these things being full. Now, in the real world, that it's not going to work that way. There's a bottom dollar that people will need, and oftentimes in commercial spaces, you're looking at 5-year leases. So you kind of have to wait for that perfect tenant to come in, and you can be as aggressive as you want to. But the whole idea of proposing a vacancy tax is something that is not realistic. Another thing is public utilities and public banking. And what has been cited is this Bank of North Dakota. Well, for reference, and the Bank of North Dakota has helped this public utility. For reference, the Bank of North Dakota is about the same size as Green State Credit Union. So whatever Green State Credit Union could do, this bank could effectually do the same or similar things. And so it doesn't seem like a reasonable idea for us to pursue, as well as public utilities. There's one in Cedar Falls, and I believe that it's generated solely on TIF revenue. So the whole city will have an increment that's created that helps subsidize this utility. These are things that these are huge tasks. I mean, and we're going into shortened budgets. So the state has already said our property taxes are going to be under threat, and that's what makes up most of our general fund. So these kind of extreme overhaul programs that have been kind of tested in some locations, it doesn't sound responsible for me to head Iowa City down that road.
I want to bring this up too because you address it on your Facebook page, and just for people who may not read your Facebook page, one of the things was that at one point you were in debt. I remember the specifics of it in your life a few years ago. And there were people who said, "Well, if he can't balance his own budget, how can he help Iowa City with their budget?" And you responded to that on your Facebook page. But I'll let you reiterate kind of what you said and how you explained people who are concerned about that particular aspect of your campaign.
Yeah, so I've been in debt like my whole life. I've been painted out in this as being this massive landlord developer who has thousands of apartments and evicts people. And the real answer is I've evicted 0 people. I'm not a massive landlord or developer. I've done one project. I'm really proud of the project that I've done. And in 2018, I hit rock bottom. And so in 2018, I started my journey into recovery. I ended up losing my first marriage. And you don't get better right away. So in recovery, you make the decision. Mine was alcohol. So in recovery, you make the decision to stop drinking. Well, great. You made that decision to stop drinking. It takes 9 months for your brain to rewire after that point, and just to kind of hit a baseline. And then 2 years after that, you still experience post-acute withdrawal syndrome, which is essentially you have highs and lows and lower depressions. And then you kind of get to start to recover. So this is a very long path, and we need to destigmatize substance use disorder as well as mental illnesses. I mean, there are people out there right now who are absolutely being affected by this. This cuts across all spectrums, all socioeconomic classes, and people need to know that they're not alone. They don't need to be afraid of this. Do I wish that it would have happened a different way? Yeah. This was not comfortable for me. Going through all of this is not comfortable. Am I proud of my progress? I'm absolutely proud of my progress. Do I regret my past? No. My past informs who I am today. Do I want to relive it? No. Don't want to relive it either.
No, I don't blame you. I do like, though, after talking to you, and you could have taken shots at your opponent. You didn't. I appreciate that. But it does seem like people out there, like, reading Reddit or Facebook, it's the slumlord versus the anarchist. That's what I think people have made this campaign out to be.
Yeah, because
I don't think either person fits those bills.
They like a good fight for some reason.
Yeah, and they like to pigeonhole people as something that they can hate.
Yeah.
So I think we got two reasonable people, and they can disagree on things, and we can have a polite and just election.
I hope so.
Just go out and vote your conscience and find out about the candidates. I know, for example, City Channel 4 has the forums up there, and I believe each of you, is that how it works? You made a statement on City Channel 4? I did a story about it. I didn't even see the videos, but it said each of you had a video. Is that just you explaining your positions and stuff, or?
Yeah, so thinking about the past 2 months, which has been pretty intense. There was a forum, and then there was a city statement, and then there was this this just very bizarre interview on KRUI. That if anyone wants to check it out, you'll probably figure out how bizarre it is as well. Where I was just kind of attacked in the manner that you were talking about. And so at this point, I don't know where these statements are coming from. I just kind of been doing my campaign, trying to sell real estate, be a dad. I've got a wrestling meet tonight, had basketball this past weekend. Kind of normal things that people in the city of Iowa City would do.
Yeah, I can relate to.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thank you for coming in.
Yeah, we appreciate
you
it.
guys.
Again, the election's tomorrow. You can vote early today still at the Johnson County Administrative Offices during regular business hours, and then during the election day tomorrow, you can go to the county website, find out where your precinct is and how to vote.
Yeah, we've got a link. If you go to our story about the election on the website and the app, there'll be a link there to the auditor site where you can put in your address. It'll tell you where to vote.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
And I want to remind everybody, too, not related to this, Swisher is having a local option sales tax election as well tomorrow.
That's
so if
right.
you live in Swisher, you also have an election.
That's right. All right. Thanks, everybody.